Good evening, guys, and welcome to the interview preparation session by 360 TMG on 22nd of February. So today we'll discuss some of the questions regarding Python, and this the format of these questions have been gone across some of the Q&A question and answers as well as some multiple choices. So we'll just go across them, and I'll just wait for another 2 minutes to just join some more people in this session. Okay. Okay, fine, guys. Now we'll just jump into the session. So the first question I've been asking you was, does Python support multiple inheritance? If yes, how does it supports? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Okay, guys. Now let's discuss the answer. Does Python supports the multiple inheritance? Okay, multiple inheritance, which means that a class can derive from more than one parent class, which is called as inheritance, which means if a class can directly derive from one or more other parent classes is called as this multiple inheritance. But as coming to the vision or the question I've been asked, no, Python doesn't support any multiple inheritance techniques as compared to Java, because only Java it takes into consideration about this multiple inheritances, and Python doesn't follow any multiple inheritances. Okay, so as coming to the next question, what is polymorphism in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer in a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what is polymorphism in Python? Polymorphism. Polymorphism means the ability to take the multiple forms, which means taking n number of forms within an equal set. And the instance, if the parent class has some method which is called as ABC, then the child class also can have same methods named same ABC, having its own parameters and variables. So in such cases, Python will allows polymorphism. Yes, Dheeraj, child and parent classes are same. The only difference is the functions or the methods in the parent class can inherit by the child classes, but the functions and variables which are inside the child class, but a parent cannot inherit all those functions, right? So I'm just asked that is polymorphism is used in Python or not? But child and parent classes are same. Yes, Karthikeya, you're right. Yes. Yeah, as we jump into the next question, define encapsulation in Python. How does encapsulation process goes on in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, what define encapsulation in Python? Encapsulation, which means the binding the code and the data together, which means combining both the data and the code together. And the Python class, it is a class which is an example for this encapsulation. Okay. Yeah. As we jump into the next question, how do you do data abstraction in Python? How does this data abstraction will done in Python, whole the Python process and all? So if anyone knows the answer, please ping in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Fine. As we look into this, how does the data abstraction process while run in Python? Data abstraction, it is basically providing the required details and it hides the implementation from the world. It just sources the required details. What are the requirements for the formats they have been asked? What are the requirements should we go across to solve a particular problem? And so it just shows the required details, but it hides the implementation process. It can be achieved in Python by using the interfaces and abstract classes. As we look into the next question, how to create an empty class in Python? How does we create an empty class in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box. Fine. There are no replies in the chat box, and let's just jump into this. How to create an empty class in Python. So empty class. An empty class is a class is nothing but a class that does not have any code defined within the block. Okay, it which means the provided set or a data frame should be of empty class. Inside the set there is nothing information regarding any types of variables, numbers, integers, float values, nothing. The total data set which is provided with an empty class, it is a total empty set, and it can be created using the pass keyword. Okay, this empty classes in Python can be created using pass keyword. However, you can create objects of these classes outside the class itself. In Python, the pass command does nothing when it's executed. It's a null statement. It's totally becomes a null statement. Okay, this is how to create an empty class in Python by using the pass keyword. And as we jump into the next question, what does an object do? So in Python, we have variables, classes, objects, libraries, functions, and all, right? So what does object do in Python? How it is helpful to us? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Okay, as we look into this, how these objects are helpful in Python. It's simple, guys. It basically returns a featureless objects that is a base for all classes. Also, it doesn't not take any parameters into consideration. It returns a object that is base for all classes. Okay, this is how an object function might help for us in Python. As we jump into the next question, what is map function in Python? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. as we look into this map function. This map function, it executes the functions given as the first argument on all the elements of the iterable given the second arguments. Okay, it executes the functions given the first argument and all the under all the elements. If the function given takes in more than one argument, if the given function will take more than one argument, then many iterables are given. Follow the then you there were some online sources which has to be followed further uh, for to see some examples. Okay, is Python NumPy better than lists? NumPy, what is NumPy? NumPy is nothing but it is type of library. It is kind of library which is mostly preferred in Python, and I know, as I think you have been gone across this list, tuples, dictionaries, and variables and all. So is Python NumPy better than list? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, is Python NumPy better? We have Python NumPy instead arrays which are instead of list because of this following reasons, which is of some due to some less memories, and it is as compared to it is very fast, and it is very convenient. So we use Python NumPy arrays instead of list. Okay. Yeah. As we jump to the next question, how do you make 3D plots visualizations using NumPy and SciPy? These are the visualization tools which we use in Python, both the NumPy and SciPy. But how do we use them? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Fine. Now, as we look into this, how do you make this 3D plots using this NumPy and SciPy? Like 2D plotting, this 3D graphics is beyond the scope of NumPy and SciPy, which means it's somewhat a difficult process as compared to the 2D. But just as it on 2D case, packages exist that integrity with NumPy. Some of the packages were being already inbuilt given in the NumPy package library itself. This matplotlib. It provides the basic 3D plotting in the mplot 3D subpackage. So mplot 3D is not a package, it is a sub-package. Whereas Mayavi, it provides a wide range of high quality 3D visualization features utilizing a powerful BTK engine. So yeah, we can use this is how by this mplot 3D sub-package, we use this 3D graphics from Matplotlib library along with it, which is a very wide range of high quality 3D visualization and also utilizing the BTK. As we jump into the next question, what do you understand by reindexing in pandas? So, what are pandas? Pandas are nothing but those are kind of libraries as NumPy and SciPy. So, what do you understand by reindexing in those pandas? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. look into this. What do you understand by reindexing in pandas? Reindexing. What are the reindexing is nothing but it is a process of conforming a data frame. What are data frames? Data frames are nothing but the data required which they've been provided required as per the required question. Data frame to a new index which is optional filling logic. If the values are missing in the previous index, then NA is placed in that location. Suppose in the data frame, suppose there were some null column. There were some places missing values inside the indexes or inside some of the columns. So those were being placed with a location of null null values, and a new object is returned unless a new index is produced. That is equivalent to current one, which is almost equal to the same thing. The copy value is set to false. This is also used for changing the index of rows and columns in the data. Okay, this is how the reindexing process goes on in pandas. So as we jump into the next question, define GIL. If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Now, define GIL. GIL. The full form of GIL is it stands for Global Interpreter Lock. This is an mutex which is used for limiting access to Python objects and aids in effective thread synchronization by avoiding deadlocks. It basically helps in achieving multitasking, which means doing n number of tasks at an equal place and equal time. This global interpreter lock helps us to do such kind of process. And as we jump into the next question, differentiate between deep and shallow copies. If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss it in a minute. Now, as we look into the differentiation between the deep and shallow copies, yeah, shallow copies. This does the task of creating some new objects and which refers of the original elements. This does not undergo any recursion to create the copies of nested objects. It just copies the reference details of some nested objects. Whereas coming to the deep copies, it creates an independent and new copy of an object, and even copies all the nested objects of the original element recursively. Okay, which means the deep copies it allows the new copies of an object and even copies all the nested. Whereas in shallows, it creates a new object with reference to the original elements. It does not undergo any recursion type that creates any copies of the nested objects. This is how the shallow and a deep copies process goes on. Let's jump into the next question. Which of the following statement creates a dictionary? Okay. Among this, which of the following statement creates a dictionary? And these were the four options. And I'll giving you 1 minute. If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box. We'll discuss it in a minute. This is a multiple choice question. Try to attempt in the chat box. Okay, we'll discuss it. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, the correct option is B, C, and D, because all these are the dictionaries are created by specifying some keys and values. Yes, Fahim Aziz, you're right. All the B, C, and D are right. So you have been gone across this D option, and that's even right. Okay. As we jump into the next question, which one of these is floor division, and the options are this. So if anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, the correct option is B, and the explanation. Suppose when both the operands are integers, then Python basically chops the fraction part. So, for example, the round off value to get the accurate answer using this float division. For example, if we choose this 5 by 2, then we'll get an float value like 2.5, right? Suppose if in case we use this float division, then we'll get only the answer as 2, which is called as float division. And as is Fahim, as is, you are right. The option is B itself. As we jump into the next question, what is the maximum possible length of an identifier? What is this maximum length of an identifier? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box and we'll discuss it in a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, the maximum possible length of an identifier is D. None of the above. Identifiers can be of any length. It cannot be there isn't any particular characters. It should be remains. Okay. Yeah. As we jump into the next question, why are local variables names beginning with an underscore discouraged? And the options are they are used to indicate a private variable of a class. And option B, they confuse the interpreter. Option C, they are used to indicate global variables. And option D, they slow down execution. If anyone knows the answer, try to keep them in the chat box, post them in the chat box, and we'll discuss it in a minute. Yeah. Now, as we look into this, and the option is A, they are used to indicate a private variable of a class. Okay, these are basically used to indicate a private variable of the class, as Python has no concept of private variables, and these leading underscores are used to indicate the variables that must not be accessed from outside the class. So these kind of variables which are from underscore and the local variables cannot be used outside the class. So that's why they use this underscore symbols before this local variables. Okay. Yeah, and the option is A. A. They are used to indicate a private variables of a class. A is the correct option. Okay. As we jump into the next question, what are Python libraries? Name few of them. I've been said before today's class itself for 3 to 4 libraries. So if anyone knows the answer regarding them, please try to keep them in the chat box and we'll discuss them within a minute. Yeah. Uh, Now as we look into this, as I said before, NumPy. Python libraries are a collection of Python packages. Some of the majorly used Python libraries are NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, scikit-learn, and many more. There are many libraries inside Python. So these are have been only taken some of them, and these NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, these are mostly used libraries inside the Python. There are even more libraries inside them. Okay. So as we jump into the next question, what is split used for? How does we use in Python? Yes, yes, Fahim, you're right. Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib. Yes, these are all the libraries which we use in Python itself. So, what is split function is used for? If anyone knows the answer, please ping me in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Now, as we look into this, what is this split used for? The split method is used to separate a given string in Python. It used to separate the given strings in Python. That is how this split function is used in Python. And as we jump into the next question, what is a type conversion in Python? If anyone having has an idea on this type conversion, can put their thoughts in the chat box, and we'll discuss the answer within a minute. Yeah. As we look into this, what is type conversion in Python? Type conversion basically refers to conversion of data type from one type to another type. Suppose if we go across int, it converts the data type into integer type. If we go across float, it converts the data type into float type. If we go across ordinal, it converts characters into integer. Hex converts integers into hexadecimal. Octal converts integer to octal. Tuple, this function is used to convert to a tuple. Set, this function returns the type after converting the set. List, this function is used to convert any data type into a form of list. Dictionary, this function is used to convert a tuple or tuple of order key value into a dictionary. String, used to convert integer into a string. This is how the function goes on. As jumping into the next question, what is pickling and unpickling in Python? If anyone has an idea on it, can put their thoughts in the chat box, and I'll see those replies, and we'll discuss the answer with them. Yeah. Now as we look into this, pickle. Picking module accepts any Python objects and converts it into a string representation and dumps it into a file by using dump function. Okay, this process is called pickling. While the process of retrieving the original Python object from the stored string representation, which is called as unpickling. This is how this pickling and unpickling goes on in Python. So that's it for the day, guys. Hope these questions might help for you in this interview process, your ongoing or the further interview process. So thank you, guys, and we'll meet tomorrow in another session. Till then, have a great day, guys. Bye.